you are into movie-related discussions, you've come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am The Wiz! And this is a solo review today, and I am reviewing the film Barton Fink, the 1991 drama comedy starring John Turturro and John Goodman, directed by Joel Coen, written by Joel and Ethan Coen, the Coen brothers. I have talked before of some of my favorite films of all time, and number one, if I had to choose one, would probably be the movie Fargo, the 1996 Coen brothers film. It is an astounding piece of film that really got me into wanting to review film, and at one point want to be a filmmaker, but talking about film and writing about it is something that I was very passionate about. And it all started with watching Fargo. And it's a movie that I've kept in high esteem ever since I've seen it. We all have our favorites. We all have our favorite filmmakers. And one of them has always been the Coens. I've enjoyed Fargo. I really like the movie Inside Llewyn Davis. They've done other films. I've had a weird kind of relationship with them. The ones that give them the most praise, like No Country for Old Men, I'm kind of cool on. I'm not a big fan of No Country for Old Men, but I do like a lot of their different pictures, like The Man Who Wasn't There. I even like their Hollywood-esque film Intolerable Cruelty. I don't know why. I just like that film a lot. And Raising Arizona is pretty good too. So I am definitely a fan of the Coen brothers, so I was really looking forward to watching Barton Fink. So let's just get into it. Let's get into the review of Barton Fink, starring John Turturro and John Goodman, directed by the Coens. After I watched the film, I did something that I normally don't like to do, and it's basically look up people's interpretations of the movie and what the other reviews thought. I already had an idea of how I felt about the film after I was done with it. I really want to understand what some people thought the film was really about. And after I read a few of the interpretations, I just came up to the conclusion that I don't really care. I am pretty disappointed by this movie. I've heard great things about it. I've heard it's a different thing that the Coens have done in the past. And it is different. It does something very unique in this movie that they don't really do in other movies, but just because it's different doesn't exactly mean it's better. And I think that's one of these movies where I would say that just because it's weird doesn't make it unique or doesn't make it really a good movie. It just makes it kind of, in this case, honestly, boring. I was actually bored throughout most of it. I think the thing I'm starting to notice about me when it comes to the Coen brothers is I like their drama with a tinge of dark comedy. That's Fargo, Inside Llewyn Davis, stuff like that. And I like their pure comedies too. They're Raising Arizona, Intolerable Cruelty. They're good movies too. But when it's comedy with a tinge of dark drama, it doesn't work for me. And the really black drama, like No Country for Old Men or Blood Simple, it just didn't work at all for me. Neither of them did. I'm having that similar problem with Barton Fink. Barton Fink is a comedy with some dark drama into it. What it is about is John Turturro plays a playwright who gets optioned by a studio to write a movie about wrestling, which is the exact opposite of what he was writing when he was a playwright. And since he's there, he comes up with a terrible case of writer's block. Immediately when that started happening, it reminded me of the 2000s film from Spike Jonze, which is Adaptation. And Adaptation is an excellent movie, and it does something very unique with the concept. I will not spoil what Adaptation does, but I think it does that story a lot better than I think Barton Fink. For the first hour, I just sat there watching the movie, and it looks good. The cinematography is good, and I think the sound design is very good in this movie. The hearing of the creaking in certain areas, the wind that comes up as you open and close the door, those details are actually really good in this. But the comedy and the drama that's in the movie just doesn't land for me at all. The first hour is kind of a slog. The comedy's okay, but the movie really drags, and it tries to rely a lot on the different characters that are populating the film. And as funny as some of the characters are, it just didn't land with me at all. I just sat here watching the movie going, what else is going to happen? And for the first hour, I was waiting for that shoe to drop. And then the shoe drops, and a twist happens. And I won't get to the twist right now. I'll put that in the spoilers. And the twist for me did not work. It really did not. Like, I sat there going, what is going on? And nothing about the twist really landed. So I just sat here watching the film going, what exactly are they doing here? And I just really did not jive with the film. It just really did not hold my attention. Honestly, at certain points of the film, I kind of trailed off. I didn't think that would be happening for a movie from the Coen brothers, but in this case, it did. And I know this film is pretty divisive. I know some love it, and others, like me, do not like it at all. And that camp that just doesn't like this movie. It just did nothing for me at all. So let's get into performances. John Turturro's okay. I mean, I like John Turturro as an actor, but he comes off as like a little too whiny and a little too like just like a person I just don't want to be around. So there's that. John Goodman's good in this, but I think the best performance of the movie is John Mahoney, who plays W.P. Mayhew. It's a decent performance. It's actually kind of funny, and also very tragic and screwed up and everything, but it's really like a 5 or 10 minute part. It's fine. Tony Shalhoub is actually pretty good as a scumbag producer, but these characters aren't in the movie all that much. It's mainly John Turturro and John Goodman who are in this film, and as much as I do like John Goodman, I'm kind of on Turturro, really. So I didn't like really the performance that Turturro gave. It's fine, but I just didn't like the character very much. I got into writing. Directing is good. The way the film is shot, I think, is very good. It's interesting in certain aspects, but it just doesn't hold my attention, really. I watch the film, honestly, going, what is going to happen? Usually that's a good sign that someone is interested in what's going on, what's about to happen next. But in this movie, it wasn't like, oh, I can't wait to what's going to happen next. My feeling was, I hope something interesting happens. And it just really didn't in this movie. Even when the twist happened, I just was like, nah. So let's get into spoilers for Barton Fink, the 1991 drama comedy directed by the Coens. If you have not seen it, you can stop here and come back when you're ready. I will get into spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the first half is Barton trying to figure out how to defeat his writer's block to make the script. The second half happens when the person that he sleeps with, which is Audrey, played by Judy Davis, they have sex, and then at the end of that sequence, it blocks out, and he wakes up with her murdered. And when this scene happened, I was like, what is going on? And it wasn't like oh my God, what is going on? It's more like, what are they trying to do here? What is this? I hate to say it, but my eyes kind of glazed over when it happened. And I was like, what are they doing? So the second half pretty much turns into a murder mystery / trying to hide the fact that Audrey was murdered. And it turns out that the character that Goodman is playing, who was an insurance salesman in the first half of the movie, is actually a wanted serial killer. And when that came up, I just was like, all right, sure. I wasn't like, oh, interesting. I was like, yeah, all right, whatever. I don't care. I really don't. John Goodman, when he does the murderer part, actually is pretty good, but the story just doesn't land with me very well in this. I'm confused as to what the movie was trying to do, but I'm going to be also honest with you, I don't entirely care either. I just was not interested at all throughout this film. When they get to the surrealistic part of John Goodman's character, who is now a serial killer, killing the cops and flames are going all over the hotel, I just got to a point where I was like, okay, this is not doing anything for me at all. I'm like, but it's almost over, so whatever. The film doesn't really answer whether what happened was in Barton's head or if it actually happened, or does it matter? It just seems like it didn't matter to a certain extent, but again, it was kind of important in a certain sense. It just seemed messy. It's not messy in the way where Mulholland Drive is messy, where even though I don't quite understand what's going on, I want to know more. This is more along the lines, it's messy to a point where it seems like I have to clean something up, and I'm just not interested in wiping the screen down. I'm like, okay, never mind. I'll let somebody else do this. Have a good day. That's kind of how I felt towards the end of the film. It did not hit well with me. I kind of see where the Coens were going to a certain extent. But I just think the second half twist, I think, messed it up. To me, at least. There are some people who love this film, and more power to you. But I'm on that camp that just doesn't get it and just doesn't like it. And I don't know if I will watch it again. Maybe I need to watch it again to get it. But at this point, I'm not interested in doing that. I just was not really impressed with the film very much. Technically, visually, it looked good. But story-wise, I just did not hit the way I wanted it to. Okay, so final thoughts on Barton Fink. This might be my least liked of the Coen brothers movies. I think in performances, I like John Mahoney and John Goodman. I didn't like John Turturro very much in this movie, but the one thing I had the biggest problem with is the story. The first part was too slow and didn't keep my interest, and when the second part happened, it just didn't feel like it gave me enough to feel like I didn't waste my time watching the first half. So that's a big problem with me. As I said, I think this is my least liked of the Coen brothers movies. Well, you know what? I'll take that back. I didn't like The Lady Killers very much. I think The Lady Killers is probably the worst one, followed by, I think, this one. I did not enjoy this movie at all. I'm going to give this a 1 star out of 5. I really did not like the movie. It just did nothing for me. I thought the story that was in this movie was dull, and then it got confusing, but it didn't justify the dullness of the first half. And it just felt like I was just getting fucked with to get fucked with, and I just don't like that feeling when I watch a movie. Unless, like, being fucked with is part of the experience, and they do a good job in certain circumstances, like Mulholland Drive. That movie fucks with you. Don't get me wrong. But the visuals and the story involved in that movie, I don't mind it because I want to learn more. I did not care at all in this movie about learning more what was going on. I just wanted it to end. So 1 star out of 5 for me for Barton Fink. A supreme disappointment. I cannot believe how much I just did not like this movie. So if you're a Coen Brothers fan, honestly, if you're a Coen Brothers fan, you might have already seen it. But if you haven't, I guess still give it a shot. And it did not hit very well. But there are people who love this movie. I might be in the minority. So check it out if you want. I would say you can skip it, but that's up to you. 1 star out of 5 for Barton Fink. Well, that was disappointing. So I'm going to go into the next movie I'm going to review for next Thursday with one that has been recommended to me a bunch of times. Somebody I know says it's a favorite of theirs, so I thought, why not check this out? And I'm watching My Fair Lady, starring Audrey Hepburn, directed by George Cukor. It's a classic film. I have wanted to see this, and I have it, and I kind of want to watch something that I'm really hoping is good. So this seems like a good thing to try out. So tune in next week where I'm going to watch and review My Fair Lady, starring Audrey Hepburn, directed by George Cukor. I am The Wiz, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.